everybody out there. I am your host. That's right. We are back. I am Jessica Koch, and this is Profound Professionals. It is the interview series that has been coming to you for 8, yes, count them, 8 years. And we bring to you industry experts from all over the world, and they help improve your personal life and grow your business. And today is no exception. We have an amazing guest. We have Drasko, and he is a mindset coach for entrepreneurs who lead small teams to grow revenue for those teams and with those teams stress free. And stress free is a good way to go. So, welcome, Drasko.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm super glad you're here. So tell us about how this became your journey. So I know you didn't just wake one day and decide, well, I think I might work with entrepreneurs who have small teams and really don't want to have stress while they grow their profits. I'm pretty sure there was kind of more to it than that. So give us a little bit of your background and what led you into this.
Yeah, so I'm very much in the your mess becomes your message category. So I owned a brick-and-mortar weight loss center for 10 years. And basically everything on that business was on paper exactly as it should have been, right? I had a team, I had systems in place, funnels were running, very successful, one of the top rated ones in the area as far as like our results. We had happy clients, like everything about that business was running well. And yet I imploded it literally 10 years to the month that I started that business, like when I initially opened it up. And the reason that it happened wasn't because I didn't know all of the business stuff. It was actually because I had no idea that all of my inner baggage was actually causing a lot of distortion in how I created a lot of the decisions and how I created a lot of the systems and essentially what I was pushing. Right. I mean, we can go dive deep into like those pieces, but like fundamentally, it was just like, it wasn't that I wanted to create a successful gym as much as it was I wanted to try to prove that I can be worthy to be an entrepreneur. And that kept pushing basically like bad money after good money, caused the business to implode. And it was that implosion that was like, okay, like what the hell happened? I've done all of the things correctly. I've invested in business coaching. I've done all of this stuff. Like, how did this whole thing fall apart? And it is through that I went into my own healing journey, started hiring, a lot of different coaches, therapists, like figure out like, well, what actually happened? And in that space, I realized two things. Like number one, even in the studio, because we dealt with like long-term weight loss clients who like really had like a lifelong struggle with weight loss. And I didn't realize like I was actually doing life coaching through the vehicle of weight loss, which is part of what made us so successful in terms of getting results for our clients. So I realized like I was actually practicing this skill already. I just didn't know what it is that I was actually doing. And then the second part of it was just realizing that like what I'm actually about is helping evolve the human behind whatever it is that they're doing. Right. I'm still passionate about entrepreneurship. I was passionate about being in that space. And basically like to reinvent myself, like one of the things I did was like, I didn't have any other skills like other than personal training and nutrition, but like growing, like building funnels and creating those things. I started doing that for other coaches. And I quickly realized like, I'm actually more excited helping the entrepreneur like figure out why they're so hesitant to do like, let's just say the marketing pieces that we need than the actual setup of like the marketing. So that's when I was like, okay, I can't make the same mistake twice. I got to be kind of true to what I'm doing. So I basically dove into this healing work for entrepreneurs, and that evolved into a podcast where basically I just bring on business owners and I coach them live on air. And I mean, so far we've had almost 250 episodes of like doing this, and ultimately a lot of those people became clients. So it just kind of organically grew from this mess that I kind of created for myself. But it led me into doing what I think is an authentic expression of like really what I am here to do.
Well, that's really cool. So when someone does come to you, what's kind of their head in their hands moment at the end of the day that they're like, there's got to be a better way. This has got to be easier. Something's broken and I can't put my finger on it. Where is their head when they come to you for the solution? Is there some sort of specific pinch that you see more times than not? Or talk to us about who that customer really is. I realize they have a small team, they need to grow revenue, they're an entrepreneur, but now what?
Correct. So in general, the people that come to me, they're already established business owners in some way, meaning they've built up the skills to be able to, sell what they offer, get all the kind of basics in place, and they know how to be a business owner. And I say that and stress that because no amount of mindset work can ever make up for a skill gap. Like at the end of the day, the mindset work is important, but like you need the skills in place. So when those skills are in place and then the things start breaking down, that's usually when people come and see me. And it generally comes in a few different modalities. So when you start to actually scale and grow a team, it is going to push up right against people-pleasing tendencies. Okay, we all have these to a degree, but like the real people that struggle with people-pleasing, what they're going to get is a lot of compensation behaviors that ultimately leak profit and time from their business. Okay, and this is what puts them on what I call the overwhelmed hamster wheel. So it's like you're hiring this team, you're not keeping them accountable, you're not setting any boundaries. Okay, you're not calling out poor performance. Now you're paying out of pocket to try and grow things. You're bringing on more clients that are unhappy, and it's basically creating more overwork and overwhelm for you, even though it was supposed to be like the ticket out, right? So what one category of clients that I have is like kind of that I'm struggling to delegate, and I don't know why, even though all the systems and ops are already in place. And the second portion of it is the kind of self-sabotaging pieces. Right. So like I know all of the things that I need to do, but I can't seem to actively do them. And I know that in some way, shape, or form, that's bottlenecking what it is that I'm doing. Right. And the third piece is kind of that part where like a lot of the things are running, everything's stable, things are good. I should be happy, yet I have no idea why. Like I'm actually depressed when like people look at my life and they're like, should be great. Like, I don't know what you got to complain about. Right. So those are generally the three categories of clients that I deal with. Yeah.
Wow. That third category is really mind blowing. And I see, sometimes you see movies about successful people's lives and different people, and they fall into that category. And sometimes that's so difficult for me to fathom. Well, and partly because I love my life so much. I love I love me. I love the person I am. I love the relationship I have with my husband. I love my family. I love my hobbies. I love what I'm doing. I have a lot of love.
Listen, that's a beautiful thing that I hope you are nurturing day to day, because it's basically like entrepreneurship is very conducive for addictive personalities. And what I mean by that is like the definition of addiction that I like is trying to get enough of something that almost works. So if you think about like it almost works. Well, what almost works? Well, success almost works. Getting the next revenue milestone, buying the next car, doing the next big launch, that almost works to make you feel whole and good enough. And oftentimes, like very well-meaning people will get into entrepreneurship in order to basically push and prove themselves, generally out of something that they missed long time, like in childhood. And I know so many of us like will fight to like get the success. But if you think about it, like it is actually absolutely tragic to work for a long time, extremely hard, sacrifice a lot of parts of yourself, get to the top of the mountain and realize like I have everything that was supposed to make me happy and nothing is. Like what else is there left over? Right. That's why like celebrities and suicide is like sometimes like they go hand in hand, but it's that same type of mechanism that does it. So like if you could actually be okay with yourself on the way up, and much like myself, because this was part of the reason why I imploded my business. I didn't get the success and then became depressed. I kind of became depressed because it stopped working. But what I didn't realize was like the business isn't going to fill the hole in your soul. Like that is actually an inside job that can never be filled externally. And if you keep searching for the external piece, you're going to miss and basically try to solve for the wrong problem, right? And what I'm really good at is solving the right problem, which is generally internal, right? So I always talk about like my specialty is basically helping you figure out like, are my business problems actually me problems? And if they are, I'm the one that can help you solve those. And then generally it makes the business portion a lot easier to do. So
When a client does come to you and you do come to a mutual understanding that you want to work together, what are some of the ways you work together? I mean, I'm imagining, because so many people are doing it now, you have some virtual options. You work with the leader. Do you work with the entire team? Are you working in group collaborations, like in a mastermind formats where it's multiple leaders and multiple teams? Is it online courses? Is it all live? How are you structuring how you are delivering some of the solutions you're providing your customers?
Because the problems that I tackle are so deep and personal, I have to work deeply one-on-one with the individual, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I work with the leader of the company, not the team.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I always say, especially when it comes to team issues, before you judge the actual team, like maybe your team actually does need replacing or that does need issues. What we want to do is we want to maximize the 100% of the 50% you bring to the equation. Right. So talked about people pleasing and then the team and delegation dynamics. It's like, if you're not setting boundaries, if you have a lot of discomfort, like keeping people accountable, if you have trouble having hard conversations, it doesn't matter how good or bad the team actually is. You're contributing to those pieces. Right now,
Mm-hmm.
the parts of you that actually create that, like those issues, are going to be very individual to the leader, and they're going to be a lot different than the other leader that I might work with that has their own team, right? Because what I always say is like the process that we always go through is like, number one, we got to make sure to have like to basically heal your history, so stop sabotaging your present, like so you didn't get to here accidentally. You got to be able to separate the emotions from the action, right? So in this instance with the people pleasing, like you generally know what you need to say, you know what you need to call out. The issue is actually like resisting and being uncomfortable saying it. So I got to help you separate that emotion from the actual action. And in number three, it's actually help you embody all of these things into a new identity, right? My definition of identity, which my whole process is this identity up level technique, which is like everything that you think, feel, and act is actually a reflection of your identity. So I want you to embody that in a way that's basically establishes a new normal. And one of the ways you can think about this is like, if I ask you if you're a thief, your natural response is like, no. Like, do you have to work at like not stealing? Generally, people are like, no, I just don't even think about it. Exactly. Yet when it comes to like awkward conversations, when it comes to stepping up and being more visible, we have to journal and we have to meditate and we have to, pray or do whatever process you do to get yourself hyped up for that. But if you realize, like, contrast that to the actual identity piece of like, I just don't steal. It's just like, that's just who I am. So my goal is to work with individuals to remove all the pieces that get in the way of that, so that basically like doing what they need to do in their business to grow it is as natural as saying, I just don't steal. I'm not a thief. That's simply my identity. That's a reflection of who I am. So overall, that's a process and it's very individual, which is why it's always on a one-to-one basis.
Now, is it one-to-one virtual, or is it in person as well, or a little both?
Virtual at this point, yeah.
Virtual at this point. Awesome. And what about a tip, everyone watching, that they could apply today that can help them either identify some of these pieces inside themselves or take the first step, besides reaching out and booking time with you, of course, to get the help they really need? What's some things they could do that would take them on the way?
Yeah. So one of the things that I would like people to come out of is when they think of self-sabotage, because we all have some patterns of self-sabotage that always come up. And I always say, like, self-sabotage is very real, but doesn't actually exist. And what that actually means is the consequences of self-sabotage are very real, but it doesn't actually exist because we always have behaviors that are ultimately trying to form and meet some sort of need. So there's actually no part of you that's trying to sabotage you, but you're just not aware of kind of like the emotional logic that that's operating under. And if you take a step back and try to analyze, like, okay, even though I don't like this behavior, there is a part of me that's doing it for a very good reason. The clearer I can be around that reason, the easier it becomes to try and solve the right problem versus waste your time trying to handle the external pieces, right? So like if you can understand that piece, it actually applies to a lot of these kind of mindset, emotional blocks. That would be my top tip.
Yeah, and I'd say that's definitely one that often probably would be best tackled alongside an expert and with someone of support, whether it's Drasko or someone else. That sounds like vital and needed to have a trailblazer with you on that journey, a guide, if you would, who's been down that road before. So, great tip. One of the things we love about our show is we take a moment of pause and spread some awareness. So, you out there watching, and actually, I see quite a few out there, put in the comments the cause that you care about and let us share that with the world. So hit the share button so we can spread the word about those causes that you love. Drasko, what's a cause that you care about?
Yeah, so one of my causes is the Day of Calm, which is run by Celia Keebler, who, full disclosure, like was a client of mine, but she's a brilliant parenting coach that like her sole mission is to help parents stop yelling at their kids. And she created the Day of Calm to basically be like one day with the sole focus of experts talking about how do you create more calm in the world, right? And it starts with kids and it spirals into like the future generations. So she's been running a Day of Calm for about 2 or 3 years now. And, you know, I've always supported that. And I think it's a great mission because we need more of that in the world. So yeah, Day of Calm, Celia Keebler, and basically stopping yelling at your kids. That would be my cause.
Well, yes, I think that's a great cause. There's so many other ways for us to communicate and inspire and encourage, and even just everybody does reach their boiling point, but to have mechanisms that you and tools and things you can do to count to 10 or separate yourself from the situation appropriately and safely for everyone involved for a minute, so that the communication can be calm and level-headed and sensible is definitely a worthwhile cause, because there's just so much that comes from your relationship as kids are growing. They're just such young sponges, right? So how about a book? I know this is going to be a tough one for you. But I love talking about a book that inspired our guests' personal life or helped them grow their business. With as many as are behind you, feel free to share one of each or more than one. What is a book or books that inspired you? And you watching, same for you. Put your favorite books in the comments. If you're an author, put the books you've written in the comments. And then the more people who share, the more people will see and learn and discover our audience as well as our amazing guests. So Drasko, tell us some of your book or books that you love.
Yeah, so probably for me, the way that I always judge books is like how many times have I gone back and like reread them, right? Like that to me is what connotes quality. Like, is it timeless throughout all the different phases of life that I'm going through? And one that has kind of met that standard has always been The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield.
Say it again.
The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield.
The War of Art. Yes.
Yeah. The War of Art. Yeah.
Okay.
So not The Art of War, which is like a strategy book from ancient China. This is the war. Sorry, not The Art of War. This is The War of Art, right? Because
I had to make sure I was getting it right. The War of Art. Okay, correct. Tell us a bit about this book.
Yeah. So it's written by an author, and the original intention for the book was, I mean, obviously written by an author, but I mean, he's writing about how creatives and writers go through the creative process. And basically what he's writing about is this concept of capital R resistance. So like the idea of like, I sit down at the page and I feel not just the like, I don't know what to write feeling, but the actual resistance to sit down and write. Right. And he talks about how this is like basically an all encompassing human thing where we avoid whatever our soul is trying to say, because through that process is how we evolve as human beings, and actually get to the point where we can overcome that resistance and actually get to basically however it is you create your art. Like you sit down and you create the art, you create the business, but it's through this process of overcoming resistance. And that's why he calls it, it's the war against resistance to basically create your art. So it's a very quick read, very punchy and very timeless in terms of like, it doesn't matter what hard creative project you're going through, you can literally pick that book up, read it, or flip through any like pages, you will get something that is very much needed. So that would be my top choice for sure.
It's fascinating. I like it a lot. And I'm surprised it hasn't inspired you to write a book by now. No, yes, one day. Is it on
one day? I think it's coming. As I coalesce everything that like I'm working on, probably the Peacefully Ambitious CEO is what that book is going to be. So.
I love that. I love that. You know, I've really enjoyed having you on the show so very much. I hope that you've enjoyed being here as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great time.
That's good. That's good. And if you're out there watching thinking, hey, I'm an author of a book already, or I am an industry expert and I would love to help improve someone's personal life or grow their business, and I should be on this show, well, reach out to us and our team and we'll let you know just how to do that. Now, before we say goodbye, I always ask our guests to share a final thought, Drasko. So a piece of information or inspiration, inspire us as we close out today's show.
So yeah, my always go-to thing is like, you probably have more answers on the inside than you actually think you do. And if you don't think you do, that's actually where the answers lie. Like that whole idea of like the obstacle is the way. So my recommendation is just always like, to what degree can you pause, like lean into trusting yourself, see what comes up internally? Because oftentimes those answers are a lot better than the ones you might get externally.
I totally agree with that. There's so much inside of us, if we take the time to ask ourselves and to listen and, you know, connect and meditate. I'm also very spiritual and believe that we're all connected. So I may need an answer, but I could meditate and find it and potentially even get it from you, Drasko, in my opinion, and not even pick up the phone. I also believe that every time you do something wonderful to improve yourself, you've improved all the world as a collective. That energy spreads about, from positive to positive. So thank you so much again for being on the show. Thank you everyone for listening, for sharing, for commenting. And until our next show, I'm your host, Jessica Koch. This is Profound Professionals, the interview series that brings you amazing experts like Drasko to help improve your personal life and grow your business. And as we say goodbye, I'd like to ask you to remember, be kind to yourself and be kind to each other out there. Bye, everybody.